It's a new year, my friends, here at the Epic Homestead 2025. I cannot believe it has been 4 years since I bought this place. 4-year anniversary coming up in, actually 5-year anniversary coming up in May of this year. But today, I want to take you around the winter garden here in early January 2025 and show you kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly, what it looks like right now, what my plans are for 2025. Hopefully, it's nice and cozy where you're at. You can get some coffee, get some hot chocolate, and sit back and enjoy, maybe take some inspiration from some of the plans that I have for the homestead this year. And we're gonna start it off with something that needs a little bit of work, the pond. So here the pond, I gotta be honest, it is looking a little bit sad, not only in the pond, but around the pond. We had an issue with the waterfall up here, totally my fault, but a rock was throwing a little stream of water over the back edge. And before I knew it, the pond was almost empty. I only had the water in the pond. The whole reservoir was nearly empty. It took a while to figure that out. So we've ripped out a lot of the planting around here to troubleshoot that and put it back together. Then that's caused some issues in the pond itself. Inside the pond, there's tons and tons of string algae that I need to fish out and reset. And I also need to replant around this whole area. And you'll also notice that the passion fruit that's covering the water cistern, I had planted 2 of them. And this year we decided to remove one because it got totally unruly, which means that it kind of looks half grown in and it's still filling that whole side out. So there's a lot of disrepair back here in the pond area. We're gonna do a full replant. We're gonna reset up here. I'm gonna try to make this whole waterfall area look just a little bit prettier. On a brighter note, the test garden is in full force right now. I've got, I would say, about half of it filled out. Remember, this is a 16 by 16 square foot space that's broken up into about 4 by 4 blocks. So 16 different growing areas. We have a cabbage spacing experiment going on. We've got 7 or 8 different types of potatoes growing. We have garlic spacing and depth experiments, as well as a secret mystery soil test. But the whole theme of the homestead for this section is just more and more tests. I have so much fun doing these experiments, figuring out, is that ancient wisdom actually true or not? Do you actually have to prune your tomatoes this way, or can you just let them grow? So if you have an idea for an experiment you want to see us run this year on the channel, just drop it in the comments. But I'm pretty excited. We have some soil tests, we have some spacing tests, we've got even some weird kind of like fertilizer ideas that we want to test out, and maybe even like, can you grow your own bread? Can you grow your own bagel? Things like that that should be really fun. And now we get over to the greenhouse. So in here, it's a little bit sparse. We just got some early winter stuff setting up, but I wanted to show you something. We're testing a couple different ideas out. We're always testing different products. These are completely biodegradable 6-cells, but we're also testing out these ones. These are full silicone version, the silicone series of the Epic 6-cell tray with this little tab right here. I think these are pretty cool, but of course they're a lot more flimsy than the harder plastic, recycled plastic that we use. But anyways, here in the greenhouse this year, I want to reserve this whole top shelf for seed starting like we always do, but keep it a little bit more in rotation than we did last year. I think we did a good job last year of having backups always. Remember earlier on in the season, I planted a ton of tomatoes, overplanted them, had to dig them way deep into the soil over there. And that's probably why I had a little bit of an issue with my tomato crop. Not a bad yield, but just a little bit slower than I would have liked. So I want to make sure I have a lot of backups here, but then I just want to dress this whole greenhouse up a little bit. I have some hanging pots I need to replant. I've got all of these aeroids down here, these house plants. I repotted them, they came back and now they're starting to suffer again. So I need to give them a little repot refresh. And then some of the stuff over here, I've got my overwintered peppers. I got this crazy Thai constellation Monstera, and then I copied Jacques and I'm doing strawberries in the green stock in the greenhouse during the winter because he got a decent crop. Now this is a mix of some stuff from last season, so you'll see some of these are looking a little scraggly, and then some fresh replants as well. I'll probably propagate the runners off and kind of reset these all so they're all nice and healthy. And then this will move outside once the temperatures warm up a bit. The in-ground garden, it's actually kind of cranking right now for a winter garden. You can see Wednesday over there. She jumps out every single day now. For a while, she didn't know how to jump back in, so we would find her kind of like in the corner on the ground in a very dangerous position. But she's been enjoying the garden quite a bit. You can see tons of broccoli going off, tons of beets, the whole sort of what I call the smile flower patch that Jacques and I planted last spring is coming back with a vengeance. So it comes back, all the flowers that we planted, and then we spot fill stuff where we see the gaps. We can kind of keep that flower patch going throughout the year. I really like this idea. It worked so well last year, having this beautiful border. I think I'm probably gonna extend a flower border around a lot of this area of the garden because, to be honest with you, what I'm starting to really not like about the space is even when I rotate crops in, even when I've got like chard sitting back there, providing a little bit of visual intrigue and of course some harvests, it still looks a little bit sparse at some times of the year. And I really want it to be more full and more lush. And if you look just right over here, I mean, this in winter looks like a beautiful, beautiful garden. Whereas over there, it's just not as attractive. So I think what I'm missing in the backyard this year is a little more color, a little more sort of border planting, wildlife planting, as well as some height differentials. Like what I have here is almost everything at the 2 or 3 foot range. I want to start bringing some height, some arches, some trellises in here to give a little bit of intrigue and kind of like stop the eye as you move through the garden. As we start off the year at the coop, unfortunately, we're lighter on the flock than I would have hoped. We lost 2 hens last year. We lost Big Loaf, our buff Brahma. I think she just wasn't well suited for the conditions here. Very big hen, stressful on the heart, kind of just collapsed one day and not really sure what went wrong. Checked, there wasn't a problem with any sort of egg being stuck. I think she just couldn't handle it, and I've heard that happen with buff Brahmas in the past. And then unfortunately, we also lost little Rufio, our hen that I raised from baby chicks, my very first hen. She was eaten by an opossum, and we figured out how it got in because you remember when we built this coop out, we put predator apron 3 feet out. We had it completely secure. We have the door that goes automatically on lock. There's no way they can get in there, but there was one little area that an opossum could get in, and it looks like that's what happened. So it was a pretty upsetting thing to walk and see. Fortunately, we've recycled them both. They're in the compost now. But this year, I just want a little bit simpler chicken care. So I'm refortifying all the predator apron. I'm making sure that the food, the water, there's no issues there. I'm keeping the coop nice and clean. And I'm honestly just letting the hens kind of enjoy. I'm not trying to optimize for eggs as much as I used to, because I feel like when I name the hens and then I lose the hens and then I'm worried about the eggs, I just kind of want to let them live, you know? They've got the coop, they've got a nice life here. Wednesday's running around eating some of my asparagus. So that's all I'm really doing with the coop this year. I may decide to put some bird netting here so that they can't get attacked by any sort of hawk or bird of prey, which has happened once as well. So they're here for long enough. Prey, birds, they get found no matter what. And it's been about 3 years now. So I think all the animals in the area kind of know, and that's what I'm worried about this year. But in the shed, there's actually gonna be a lot going on. So I'm not gonna go inside because it's a little dark in there, but this shed was one of the first structures that I built on the homestead almost 4 years ago now. 8x10 shed, we've got it hooked up to our rainwater capture, but it's never been powered, and it's never made sense to kind of pull power from the breaker and bring it over here. So what I've got are these portable batteries from Delta. It's the Delta EcoFlow. I'm gonna do a video on it soon, but it's really cool. I have the main battery and an accessory battery, as well as 2 440 watt rigid panels that I'm gonna get up on the roof, mount those panels to the roof, wire it up so that they generate power to the batteries inside the shed. And then I think what I'm gonna do is put some lighting outside the shed, kind of like some, you know, kind of cool, like maybe brass lighting or something like that. And then put some strip lighting underneath the awning, as well as maybe even some outdoor lighting. Because with 2 440 watts in a day, it's gonna recharge that battery no problem. And I'll set all that up on timers so that they're only on when I can enjoy it. Because again, it kind of goes to what I was saying about this in-ground garden, is bringing more visual intrigue to the garden. It's the same with the hardscaping. It's the same with the lighting. I wanna really feel like I can come out and enjoy this space in these dark winter months at night. Otherwise, it's like, why did I do all this? So this area I've kept under wraps. If you've been a follower of the channel for a really long time, you remember what this house looked like when I first moved in. This area was kind of like this weird purple gray concrete with a bunch of chips on it, all these weird different kind of heights to it, and it was open air. So what we did, and it took a while to get this done, but I'm very happy it's done now, is we fully sealed this in. So now this is what's called a California room, kind of like an indoor-outdoor space. It's not conditioned. I don't have any AC or heating in here, but it's San Diego. I don't really need it. So it's got this kind of sunroom effect. There's a door here, There's 2 sliding doors here, and then this whole side also has kind of like a full-faced window with some of the cooking stuff that I use out there. But what I'm really excited about is I've got this kind of saltillo tile, like this Mexican-inspired style on the floor, which this house is Spanish-inspired. Anyways, it's got that kind of parapet, flat roof look. And then we've painted the walls a sort of like off-white to try to make it look like that kind of adobe plus white textured wall look, maybe a little bit more Spanish inspired. I have what I'm calling the preserves fridge here. This is what I'm really excited about because I only have 1 fridge in there, and I'm a Filipino, guys. I'm not a real Filipino unless I have 2 fridges, and one of them has to be outside the house. That's the rule of the Pinoys, okay? This is what my grandfather did. I didn't do it when I was a child because I'm only half Filipino. I guess my mom won that battle. But now I'm back and I got the full fridge. It just came in. So this is gonna be where we preserve a lot of our stuff, whether it's stuff that's going to the kitchen, stuff that's gonna be used in a recipe on this channel, or maybe stuff that's going to the food pantry because we still do pretty regular donations to food pantry, or even like pickles and preserves that are maybe more bulk in nature, like a bunch of canned tomato sauce and stuff. Also have the freezer going on. The coolest part about this fridge, I have such bad luck with fridges, this is 2 types of ice. It's a cheap fridge, but it has 2 types of ice. There's no water in this because that's what always breaks in a fridge. It's got the normal ice, it's got the pebble ice. So the team, maybe they can enjoy some nice drinks. We also built in a couple different like fun elements here, just some extra storage out here because the house is so small. So storage is king. We got this cool little shoe rack. And I also moved out my sort of food storage shelf that we put a lot of like our onions and our garlic and stuff out here so that it doesn't take so much space up inside. So this is still a work in progress. We've even got kind of like the cool dining table with this rug. You know, there's this company we found out, this company called Ruggable. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's pretty cheap rugs and it looks good. Like it looks like a not so cheap rug. Not sponsored or anything, but just a big fan of them. And then we dug up an old TV from the warehouse that I used to own down here in San Diego where we'd ship all you guys our birdies beds. And now we can kind of watch YouTube videos here and hang out and have some fun. I also threw a little Nintendo Switch down there. Okay, and that is just the backyard, my friends. So here we are in Dragon Alley, the beginning of the front yard. And what we did last year that it was painful, but I'm really pleased that we did it, is we got rid of those pots that everyone loved. I loved them as well. Those big, beautiful terracottas, gave them to a neighbor of ours, including the dragon fruit. And we did a full reset on Dragon Alley. And what I'm really glad for is that we did it last year, because apparently we're supposed to get like 100-mile-an-hour winds in the next couple days, which is crazy. So it might be a little windy right now. But what we did is we took this trellis, standard style. It used to have this kind of pinwheel on the bottom that was made out of the same 2x4s, and you would put that in the bottom of the pot to provide some stability. In this case, we took 4 corners of our birdies beds, turned them into kind of like mini beds, and then we took a concrete pillar and put it on the bottom of this 4x4, so it's actually below the surface of the soil. So we buried it down there. So there's no true bottom, it's just kind of buried in the soil, which means that this is bottomless, which means that these roots can kind of go into the native soil over time. The other thing that does is it makes it nice and aligned. I was really getting kind of annoyed. I have this, you talk to Jacques a million times, he'll roll his eyes at you. I like things to be really neat and orderly, and that wasn't happening with the pots. They were falling over, they were doing all sorts of stuff. So we have this nice, beautiful line here, and we can start kind of shaping and balancing the dragon fruit. For example, this is coming down a bit low, and there's a lot of heaviness, let's say on this side of the dragon fruit. I might want to do what's called an early tip on this dragon, come through and actually just clip this off right here, because I want less length over here. Now that I see it's coming out, I want more over here. So I'm gonna let these ones grow. So it just gives us a little bit more opportunity to do that, which I'm really happy about. And then on the other side of the walkway here, it's the Archchoke Patch. I've talked about this a million times. I would say the big thing we did different this year is last fall, we put in a bunch of perennials, which provide, as you can tell, a lot more visual intrigue while the artichokes are a little bit more dormant. Now they're sprouting back up, and over the next few months, we're gonna start to see these get absolutely massive. But during that fall off period, this just looked kind of barren and sad. And so putting in all this stuff, the bougainvillea in the back has made its way all the way up the chimney now. We got some beautiful stuff climbing up there, and we got like nasturtiums and strawflower and all that kind of stuff peppered in here. It just makes it look a little bit more lively. So here in the front yard raised bed garden, I would say not much has changed over the years once we got the final beds set up. The only big difference is once we made that big switch from the Birdie's metric to the Birdie's imperial, we switched the beds out so that they're kind of perfectly set up for us here in America. So this is like a perfect 4x8. This one over here is a perfect 3x6. I got some fun stuff in here right now. I've got the saffron that I've been growing. This has already flowered. I've already saved it. I even made some saffron rice on the main channel, which I got roasted for in the comments. Someone said, bro, I love the video. I love you, but the saffron rice is pathetic. And I said, hey, it's epic gardening. It's not epic cooking. But anyways, I'm gonna let these keep going until I can get some good corms out of them, save them, and then maybe just regrow them in a different spot. But this winter garden, it's greens, it's letting stuff kind of play out. Like, look at this over here, this massive nasturtium. Do I need a nasturtium this big in the corner of this bed? Not really, but it's here, it's looking good, it's bushing out, it's filling this out. I'm feeling pretty happy about it. But there's still some really great stuff. Like I've got my Brussels sprouts here. These look really good. They're starting to form up. We've got the nice little Brussels coming in here. I think all I'm really trying to do this year in the front yard garden is have a plan. We just launched this really cool Epic Garden Planner that you can plan out exactly your garden down to the inch if you want, exactly the different types of plants in there. Like for example, I have my entire front yard garden to scale with the plants in it. I'll put something up on the screen. And then the craziest part is you can then go to the tab that says plant list and it'll tell you exactly when you should plant, sow, harvest, etc., all those crops. If you put a frost cover on the design, it'll change the length of time that you need to grow it because it knows it now has some season extension, some pretty crazy functionality. And you can then go to the shop tab and anything that exists on the store can be shopped directly from that tab. So like if you were to design a new garden, like say you wanted to put 4 of these rounds in there and 2 of these 3x6s and then fill it up with some seeds from botanical interests, they would all exactly add to your cart at the very end if you want to. It's pretty cool. So I've been spending some time over the winter break putting every single measurement in my garden on the planning app. And it's easier to do for me at the start in the raised bed garden because everything's kind of defined, right? I have this bed, I have that bed, and then I come out and I count how many plants are in it because I didn't plant it before I planted it. So this year I'm gonna switch it. I'm gonna plant it and then I'm gonna plant it. And so I come out and I count, so like I have this bok choy, I come out to how many onions do I have, and then I put that in the chart. So anyways, this year, I really want this raised bed garden to be a little bit more kind of almost like production, just producing, making sure that it's always full, it's always planted, it's always making something amazing for the garden or for the kitchen or for the donations that we do. And I'm really excited about it because I think adding a little bit more of that rigor to it will help keep the excitement high. We're now here in my favorite part of the garden, most days at least. Probably not right now, but most of the time it's my favorite part. This is the orchard. So I'm very proud of the plan and the execution on the citrus hedge. It's pretty much worked out how I wanted, not as quickly as I would have liked, but as you can see, most of these, even my yuzu lemon back there, which really wasn't doing that well for the first couple of years, it's starting to get higher. So the strategy that worked really well is topping these all off so that they're roughly as high as the lowest tree. But you know, this is what I'll do. I'll come in and just pop that off. I'll come in and take this off. And this is why it's my favorite part of the garden, because I like to come out usually around 4, 5, 6 p.m., depending on when that golden hour is. Just really enjoy the act of the prune. You guys remember we had Tom Spellman down here on the channel last year, sometime around this time, and he taught me kind of a lot about fine tuning a tree. So speaking of, let's take a look at this peach tree. Jacques and I have both had a blast with this peach tree, a lot of laps over the seasons. This thing just goes crazy every single year. It looks terrible right now because all the leaves have fallen off, and I just did probably the heaviest prune I've ever done on the peach tree. I took about 40% of the height down, but I'll come out and take this, for example. I count, I go 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna take this off right here. So I'm gonna have 3 fruit right there. And I'll look and I'll say, oh, you know, I wanna take that off. Over here, I'll count, I'll say, okay, this one's dead. I'll take that off. But I'm not saying that out loud. I'm thinking it in my head while I just kind of enjoy and relax. I find that as the garden has become a business, really, as well as a passion, it is very challenging to separate those two things. And so when I come out like this, it's my way of trying to get back to that, like I did in the early days. So Tom Spellman said, the fruit tree is a artist's canvas never finished. And I really believe that. I come out and just really fine tune everything. I can see this right here. There's like gonna be 12 peaches on that. I don't think this small branch can handle that, so I'll take that down. Taking it off early like this, it's really just pre-thinning. You would normally see these little fruits form and then you'd brush those off. Why? When you can just prune the actual stem and you don't even have to let them form. Saves you quite a bit of energy on the plant. So this is what I like to do. I come out and do this. I would say my goals for the orchard this year, let's walk over here, is to finish this area. This area is kind of the eyesore of the garden, and unfortunately it's in the front yard. All of this Bermuda on the ground looks absolutely terrible. I don't even like showing it to you guys. I'm embarrassed about it, but it's so hard to remove. And then the performance of the orchard is not as good as I would like in the front area. So these 4 or 5 citrus up here, they've struggled over the years. They just don't have as much access to water because the gray water trench doesn't extend that far. And that's how a lot of these citrus are getting all their water, because I'm showering out there once or twice a day. So what I want to do is clear all that Bermuda out, see if we can reset these, maybe even replant. And if I do, I'm going to replant with a 3-year tree or older. I want to speed up that time. I'm willing to pay the cost at this point. I want my Eureka lemon. I only have a pink lemonade lemon and some Bear's limes that I've been using as like my baseline citrus. I don't have that really robust producing lemon right now, so I'm working on that. And if anyone has techniques on getting rid of Bermuda that's this grown in at this point, you got my number. I mean, give me a call, because we got a quote to try to rip it out and it was way more than I was willing to pay. And I'm not trying to spray and I want it gone. So I'm in a kind of a bit of a bind. But to me, if I could put some like maybe walkways in this area, some stepping stones, perhaps a little chair or something like that, and just plant some more stuff, put some more borders around this area, I think it would really finalize the look of this whole front yard. This year in the garden in the homestead, I just want to bring it back to doing things simply and doing things well. It was a pretty challenging year, 2024, just in life for me. And I want to have the garden be a source of peace again and joy, and not a source of kind of maybe a little bit more stress or overthinking and anxiety and stuff like that. Because, you know, we make a lot of videos for you guys, and sometimes it's hard to not see the garden in 2 different ways. 1, the enjoyment, the beauty, the fun, and all the pleasure you get from it. And then 2 is like, okay, well, I could be making a video right now. Instead, I have to film this instead of gardening, and I'd rather just do the gardening. And so it's trying to just get it back to the basics. More harvests gonna be coming this year. Some fun series I think you guys will really like, maybe some new faces on the channel. And if it's anything you want to see, of course, just let me know. Hopefully this was an inspiring look at some plans of just a guy who has a suburban homestead who's trying to make it a little bit better every single season. I will see you guys on the next video. Happy New Year, good luck in the garden, and keep on growing.